by the co-chairs here in San Antonio. We have Richard Delgado and Lizette Davis, who is going to speak to the other participating CVEBs across the area who want to talk about the best practices that they have been doing in their particular areas, to talk about the bridges and the gaps in services that we're working with the VA and with the community to ensure that we're taking care of our veteran community as a whole. So I'm going to turn it over to Richard and Lizette, and they are going to speak with the other CVEBs across this big area of ours.
Well, thank you, Eric, for that. So as Eric mentioned, I'm Richard Delgado Jr. I'm the co-chair along with
Lizette Davis.
So we are here in San Antonio and just laying out the rules, some ground rules. So each CVEB will have 5 to 6 minutes to tell all of us and kind of educate us on what's working in your community to see if that's going to work in other communities. So I am a stickler, so the Marine in me is going to keep us on time, and then we'll get started, and then Lizette and I, along with Hector, our founder, will give us an overview of kind of what's working in San Antonio.
If we can, I'd like to start off with the Mayor's Veterans Advisory Council in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Good morning. Can you guys hear us?
Very well.
Yes.
I'm Veronica Jackson-Patrick. I'm here in Tulsa. I'm very pleased to say that we have several representatives here. Actually, we have all 3 administrations represented here, and then several of our community members. And I want to introduce our chair of the Tulsa CVEB, Ms. Sandy Oxford. She's with the Mayor's Veterans Advisory Council, and she'll be presenting a best practice for Tulsa.
Good morning. Just briefly, we started about February of 2010. We're running on 8 full years now. We are now at 99 agencies to our capacity. We're running 80 people per meeting. We meet monthly. We have everything from veteran organizations to our military units, our VA, Red Cross, anything that a veteran would touch. And that we have a lot of companies that also attend our meetings, and we have found that big American Airlines, Kimberly-Clark, they have veteran organizations within their own companies. So a company is not going to let an employee come to our meeting if they're not going to get something back out of it. And that, so we've been very, very successful. We have dignitaries that have flown in to attend our meetings. One of the nice parts is I have full support of both VA Medical and VA Regional. They're not afraid if we bring a complaint to the council. They stand fast, they check out the information, and they get back with us. And the other great thing about it is that as information is coming down, and that they're real quick to inform the council so that we stop bad blood, we stop rumors, we get the information out, everybody hears the same information. It just makes for a lot better communication. And that veteran organizations, we were, when we first started this and became an engagement team, some of our older vets were a little worried that if Big Brother got involved, that they wouldn't let an 85-year-old veteran sit on the council. And that, so we stopped a lot of that. We've got World War II vets that sit on the council. The other thing that we've got to our advantage is our congressional constituents and our senator constituents, and they are at every meeting. And that's so, and it makes it nice that you can get a lot more things done if you're face-to-face with somebody, and that's where our networking has become so important, is that we know exactly a guy just coming off of active duty, we can go, hey, you need to call Elizabeth, or hey, you're starting your own company, you need to call Larry, that type of deal. So we have very much a huge one-on-one connection. Like I said, I can give you a prime example. firefighter of the year happened to be a veteran. He was brought to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have 80 people already there. We had a huge ceremony, and that it just made it much more special. And he was with a bunch of veterans. Building healthy military communities. The military is struggling right now with retention. They came to our council, and I think by the time they left, they turned us all into recruiters, so we could help get everybody back signing back up, things like that. So the other thing I've got to say for our council, we don't change. This is our third mayor, and that we've kept our name, Mayor Veterans Advisory Council. Everybody's used to it. We don't change our date, and that everybody is locked in. So if they want to invite a special guest, they know it's the third Thursday every month, 2:00, and that so we don't do any confusion, and that we've got major generals that have come. We've got retired admirals but again, been successful. Everybody's there. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's excited to see one another. And if you watch everything that's going on in the parking lot, because it's like, I've got stuff for your homeless guys, or I have toys for your kids, and that, so we can get everything done in a short period of time, and we're powerful.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. So, prime example of a best practice of community collaboration. So we'll turn it back over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And then next, we would like to welcome to the floor the Rio Grande Valley. So is the Rio Grande Valley CVEB with us? Okay, we'll come back to them, see if they jump on.
Absolutely. We can move on to the East Texas Veterans Community Council in Tyler, Texas, if you're there.
Either we're having technical difficulties or the rain is getting to them.
Hello, I'm sorry. We were muted. Can you hear us?
We can.
Well, just so you guys know, Tulsa has volunteered to share more information if you don't get any other takers.
We're gonna cut Tulsa off.
We'll keep that in our pocket, Tulsa.
Okay, we're ready. I mean, we're the East Texas Veterans Community Council in Tyler, Texas, and we became a CVEB in 2017, and we're based upon a lot of experience that we have accomplished over from 2010 on forward. We have just recently, in August, became a 501c3, so it gives us a better capability to support our community population of veterans and their military families. I've got with me Susan Campbell, who is the first vice president of our organization. Therese Harkey is who runs a committee chairman of our housing marketing activities. And we've got a visitor, Barbara Eason, from the East Texas Veterans Alliance. And what we're going to be talking about our practices. I will introduce them, and then I'm going to turn it over to Susan and allow her to give the explanations of why we go to those particular areas. And I think you're going to see what we are accomplishing and what we're forecasting is one of the largest things that will be happening in the state of Texas and maybe through the years. Our first one is strengthening community and veteran relationships. Susan, take it away.
So I don't know if you know much about East Texas, but it is quite a rural area. We're 90 miles from any military base, so getting services for our veterans is quite difficult. So the CVEB has really helped us be able to reach out into the community. In 2014, UT Tyler did a survey that said veterans wanted one resource to go to, or not one resource, but one center to go to. And community leaders and officials all voted to support that effort of opening a resource center. We then conducted a forum with our veterans in the area to understand what their concerns were, what their needs were, and from that point, we have now built a CVEB of chairs, board chairs who are working on those programs, as well as our community stakeholders that would help provide that. Jim?
Oh, our next one is establishing collaboration and partnerships with key stakeholders, including veteran service providers, support organizations, community, and business leaders.
So we have spent a good year building partnerships and relationships with our key stakeholders, including all the veteran service providers, community support organizations, business leaders, elected officials. All of our area service providers have expressed interest into moving into one facility. And of course, our civilian community organizations are going to provide additional help and share information on their veteran client statistics.
Our next one is creating a central location as a veteran resource one-stop to provide a more effective and efficient process for veterans and their families seeking services. This is probably the biggest activity going within our local community. Susan?
So it started off small, and now it's morphed into something much larger than what we expected. So the center will house all these major veteran service providers. By funneling our veterans through one facility, we will gain such an incredible insight that we'll have a two-way communication, that they're telling us what we need, we're finding out as a community what we're doing to help them and what more needs to be done. The future development of this happens to be on a 20-acre piece of property that will begin to include multiple therapies. So we'll have counselors on site. We're going to have support groups, equine therapy. We will be teaching vocational training, construction, electrical, plumbing, mechanical skills, and offering recreational activities like a respite center, hobbies, golfing. The canvas is rather blank, and we can do, as our veterans tell us and our community tells us, we will build that campus to address those.
And our last best practice is we want to build programs focused on women veterans. And I think most of you will know that women veterans in the state of Texas is the fastest growing population. And there are many areas that the women are not, in our local area, not fully recognized. And then maybe I don't want to use the word neglected, but just not fully recognized. So that we think that's an important area that we are working on. Thanks. And what you see out of that, or what you hear out of that, is everything that we put out in our best practices. These activities will integrate our civilian and veteran community into one formidable. And we are very proud of what we're doing. We think that we're going to see a greater emphasis of what we're putting out for our veteran and our local population. And we're reaching out to 14 county regional areas within the East Texas area. So thank you, guys. We appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you in the future.
Hey, Jim, Susan, this is Eric down here in San Antonio. We thank you for chiming in and giving us the best practice you guys are doing. We know that you guys are doing some great work, and the resource center that you are planning to build out in that area will be great for the veterans of East Texas, Northeast Texas. But we're having a few, just to let you guys know, we're having a few technical difficulties here in San Antonio. What we would like to do, and we will resume in 5 minutes, we need to unplug and replug a few cables here and there so that we're all in the same, we're all seeing the same thing. So we're just going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll resume in the next 5 minutes. Please hang on.
Okay.
good idea.
Are we going to have to call back in?
This is Lee and Tyler. I think that number still should be good. They're not changing the numbers, they're just doing some technical work on theirs. But when they come back on, I think, they'll address the call-in situation if you'll need to.
Okay.
Yeah, we should be
This
able
is
to
Paul
stay here.
Bastard
I think it was just San Antonio having an issue with what they were seeing.
I appreciate that. This is Paul Bastard from Denton County, and I know I'm coming up on the list to speak of best practices, so just wanted to make sure I was still on board.
Yeah, we'll try not to change it right before your turn.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good morning. This is Selma from the Valley. Hello.
Hey, we are just on standby. We're waiting for folks in San Antonio to reconnect.
I'm sorry.
Did you hear us from San Antonio there? A lot of echo.
I do. Sounds like there's some echo, though. That maybe you're joined from multiple devices in the same room.
Can you hear us? Hello?
East Texas is here. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? This is the Valley.
Yes, we can hear you, or Houston can hear you. Can hear you.
Houston can hear RGB.
I think we see and hear everybody. I think it's just San Antonio is right now
Okay.
rebooting their system or something along those lines.
Okay. We were having some trouble also with, audio down here.
Oh, okay.
Who was that? McGowan?
This is Selma from the Valley.
Oh, welcome.
Good morning. Did you want me to go ahead and report, or do you want to hold for a while?
We are waiting for Tony Davis, and then there's some folks in San Antonio that were having a little bit of challenge as well. And so they'll be back hopefully in just a few minutes.
Come on in, and that's fine.
Hey, Matt, just so you know, this is Tony. I'm actually here. I'm covering this event from New York, but Eric has the lead from San Antonio, so I'm on with you guys waiting for San Antonio.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Hey, Tony, just I guess one question. When we're doing the roundtable, can we turn off the slides because we're not seeing folks' video very big?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Should I turn? Is my purse in the way?
No, that's fine. 1, 2, 3.
You take several if you want to.
Okay, I'll take several.
Just,
I'm going to decide which one out of the middle, right?
yeah.
There you go. One more.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Wait, the light, okay, took another one. Took a picture of my head.
Just got a volunteer.
All right, awesome.
So what is happening right now?
They're having problems in San Antonio.
Okay.
So they're trying to figure out their problems and
Okay.
Are we using the phone or are we using the?
No, I think they could hear us
They can hear us.
without the phone.
It's just, the San Antonio side, they're trying to connect, so everybody can hear.
Well,
She's taken over to
yeah.
you. some
I love
things
Dr.
that
Hanson,
you-
I haven't seen her in a while, but
She's
I love,
on my microphone.
really?
Yeah.
I love Dr. Hanson. She's awesome. She's helped our department a lot. When we were UT Pan-American, she would donate a lot of items.
About 100 organizations, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me just stop.
Despite everyone. Hey, we apologize for this inconvenience. Not only did we have a little breakdown in the system, but we actually had to change complete rooms. So we're all in one room together. If you can see, we are spread wide across the big area here in San Antonio. And obviously, I can see that McAllen is unmuted because I can see you guys. Good morning, Thelma, Jaime.
Good morning.
So we're going to resume. Richard and Lizette is going to resume with the best practice from where we left off at, and we'll keep going from there.
All right, so as Eric said, we apologize for the little glitch. So let's get this going again. So let's check in to see if Rio Grande Valley jumped on the call.
Good morning, everyone. This is Selma, co-chair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, you can hear us. We're still somewhat doubtful. So, we have been working on Operation Reveille, which is to try to increase enrollment of our local veteran population into the different VA programs. Our plan is to hold informational meetings in the month of November to provide an overview of programs to our local veteran population with the help of the Public Affairs Office in getting the right representatives to provide factual information to our population. We also want to have booths set up around the conference room so that if people are interested in enrolling in a particular program at that time, they have an opportunity to ask questions one-on-one. We have presented to the local Veterans Coalition in our region, and Dr. Quintana is going to talk a little bit about the membership in that coalition.
We have been putting quite a bit of efforts on meeting and letting the members of the already existing Rio Grande Valley Veterans Coalition, what the CVEB is all about. All the members that went there and spoke to them and kind of to dispel the myth or give them a more clear picture of what the board is all about. The idea is to be able to work together to enhance the level of cooperation among all those different agencies.
So listening, learning, and guiding are some of our principles to be able to enhance local participation. We're looking forward to a very successful operation. I'm going to ask a couple of other members around the table if they have anything else they'd like to add, to feel free to jump in.
The one thing I do have to add, my name is Melissa, I'm from Endeavors, and one of the things is that we are trying to collaborate with a number of partners that service a large area in the Rio Grande Valley. And our goal is to make sure that the veterans are heard in our area and that we have a voice for them as well, and that we are conduits to making sure that they receive the services that are satisfactory. In the last couple of months, we've been able to kind of coordinate some meetings, and we hope that we can continue to grow with our membership and continue to also grow in knowledge on the various veteran organizations and veteran services that are out there amongst our communities.
Yeah, I think that is another project that we have, and we have a subcommittee, is that we're putting together a brochure with general information about the different services provided by the VA. It's a very, very broad, very general brochure, not with specifics about who is entitled to what services, but more like informational in nature. And also that brochure will contain information about how to link with the VA, how to link via either internet or the different phone numbers of providers who can give them additional information. So this is what we have here from the Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With joining community forces. Okay, so we'd like to move on next to joining community forces in Helena. Are you on with us? If not, again, we're going to move to the next in line, and maybe we'll come back to joining community forces in Helena. If we can try Texarkana Coalition.
I know Tulsa's eager to jump in, so we're going to keep moving forward. Denton County Coalition. Denton County on with us?
Yes, I am. This is Paul Bastage.
Okay.
Okay, so
Paul
real
Bastage,
quick.
do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. So, joining forces community, if you are on and you have, you're muted, then *6 will unmute you. Same thing with Texarkana. Are any of those communities on? So
okay, Texarkana just unmuted. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Awesome.
We'll come right back to you. Let Denton County know to come back to us.
Denton County, Paul, we'll come right back to you. Let's let Texarkana have the floor.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks, Richard. This is Robert Hernandez here in Texarkana. I have Patricia Harris here with me from the Texas Workforce Commission. She's part of our CVEB here. The Texarkana CVEB, we formed in April 2017 with core community partners to include our East Texas Resource Center, our local veteran service officers, congressional liaison, VA representatives, Texas Workforce Commission, Red Cross, Texas A&M, Texarkana University Veteran Center services, representative from local veteran service organizations, and then also the local homeless shelter. During our first meeting, we discussed and decided to work on 4 major core issues for our local veterans. Those 4 issues were claims and the ability to get them into the system. Second was establishing a veterans court for our 2 counties and surrounding areas. Our third focus was on communication to veterans and their families. And then our fourth focus was on homeless veterans. Homeless veterans in our area are unique. It's basically because our city is unique. We are a border city of both Arkansas and Texas, which brings in multiple challenges. Though we'd love our goal to be no homeless veterans in our community, reality doesn't make that very possible. Our goal is to be at functional 0 for homeless veterans. Challenges with being a border city, we have to work with both city officials and regulations, and then also 2 state regulations and resources, which are clearly different. Unfortunately, this provides a big challenge depending on which side of the state line a veteran lives on in the prevention of homelessness and what state the veteran wants to be located in once we work them through the programs to be housed. Another challenge that we have is a huge transient population in our homeless community due to our location. We have 5 major interstates and highways that go through Texarkana, and we're kind of the central hub from 5 major cities, so a lot of our homeless veterans kind of tend to use us as a kind of like a rest stop. To contribute to our success, we have ensured that we have the right community resources at our table to discuss the needs among those working with our veterans. We've invited and engaged others within the community that we felt had the resources that others did not have. We have taken back and communicated these resources and needs to our individual organizations to ensure that all of our veterans' resources, our needs are being met. Our East Texas Veterans Resource Center is a Texas state agency that receives referrals from the Community Homeless Shelter, Randy Sams and the Salvation Army. Our Texarkana VA Clinic HUD-VASH social worker also receives referrals from the community partners and the homeless shelters. We have Lancer Legacy Ranch is a veteran service organization that houses veterans while providing structured services like job skills and peer-to-peer counseling. We work with our other service organizations that provide services as well, such as our Heroes Pantry, which is a local food shelter for veterans only, our Vietnam Veteran Association and Disabled Veterans Association help veterans in need with resources as they are available. And our East Texas Council of Governments has requested and received HUD vouchers specifically for this area homeless veterans. This committee has also assisted with having community partners contact and relationships when assistance has been needed to apply for housing vouchers and grants and other needs as they come up. Our biggest key to success has been communication collaboration. We focus on our veteran needs and we assist where we can. We realize that one organization cannot solve all the problems, so we collaborate where we can, how we can to work together and give it our all. We will never end homelessness and may not be at functional 0 for more than a few days, but we will work with every veteran, community leader, and community partner as long as we need to. We'll be around once the roundtable is done, so if anybody has any questions specifically of what we're doing here in Texarkana, we'll be more than happy to engage them. So back to you, Richard.
That's great information. Thank you so much. You know, I'd like to go back and see if we can have Joining Community Voices join us again, if you're available.
Yes, can you hear us?
We can.
Oh, very
we
good.
We can see you as well.
Oh, well, I don't know about that part, but hey, it's great to be here today. Thank you so much. It's such a great pleasure. You know, these networking events are somewhat akin to a wedding. You can have all the planning in the world, and then it just happens. I'm very fortunate today to be here at Fort Harrison, the VA Montana Healthcare System, just outside of Helena, Montana. Here today with Ms. Brandy Keeley, who is the co-chair emeritus and president of the Joining Community Forces Montana. Also today are in order here behind me, Ms. Sue Callentine, Women Veterans Program Manager, Mr. Paul Harmon, Associate Chief of Staff for Mental Health, and Mr. Patrick Hutchinson, Public Affairs Officer, all with the VA Montana Healthcare System. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brandy to bring you up to date on the JCF Montana.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning. My name is Brandy Keeley. I am the Director of Veteran Services for Carroll College. We were just named Best in the West for Veterans for the 4th year in a row, so we're super proud about that. And then I also serve as President and Co-Chair of Montana Joining Community Forces. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about some of the framework that we put in place when we were starting the JCF and some of the, I guess, challenges that we faced when we were starting, and maybe how some people out there could overcome their challenges by following some of these simple guidelines. So first, when looking at starting a community coalition like this, it's best to determine the organizational structure that best fits your state and federal regulations. It's good to be truthful and transparent. It means that you can provide a financial update to your group each month. If you can't develop yourself as a nonprofit or a 501c3, then you need to probably find a organization that will serve as your financial fiduciary in the interim, because potential donors will want this. And if you intend to apply for grants or anything like this, you will need to have that mechanism in place. And then develop a strong team full of people of good character and leaders within your community. Secondly, it's good to develop a mission statement, because this will help you convey your purpose when you're out speaking to your local leaders and organizations that serve veterans. Stay committed and passionate about your mission. Remain faithful and true to your mission. Accept your failures and learn from your mistakes and move on. And then identify organizations and resources in your area that serve veterans, service members, and their families. Develop a comprehensive resource list so that you can refer easily back to that, and so that you can help connect the dots, identify any gaps that are in your area, and then utilize those services to fill those gaps. So what we did is we actually created a little pocket-sized resource card containing all of the different services within our community that can help veterans. And we split that off into different categories, so that's been a very helpful card. Don't overcommit or make promises that you can't keep. If you say you're going to do something, make sure that you do it and you follow through. Even if that means you're the last man standing, you're the last man at the event, you're putting away tables and chairs or whatever, just make sure that you follow through with your commitments. And being committed also means that you cover other people's responsibilities if they fail to follow through. So you're not only covering yours, but you're following theirs as well. So some of our accomplishments to date is we've hosted, in conjunction with the VA, we have hosted 5 military community provider symposiums. Basically, this is a professional development opportunity for service providers in our area to come and learn about best practices, learn about issues that are relevant to our service members and veterans and their families. We've offered CEUs, different breakout sessions. We've had a 2-day event, a 1-day event, and then we incorporate some networking into that as well. So that's been a big success over the last 5 years. And then we just came off our 4th year of hosting Community Resource Fair and Veteran Stand Down. So we do all the planning, we pay for the space, we just everything that's planning and that goes into that, we do. So that's been very successful as well. And then we've also hosted numerous mini career summits. So veterans have had the opportunity to come and get engaged with potential employers. We've helped them learn how to write resumes, craft opening letters, and those sort of things. So we've been very successful within our community here. We have support from a lot of our local businesses. Obviously, the VA, we've had a great partnership with them, and then other veteran resources and services here in our community. Thank you. Paul, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been very helpful is there's lots of events and lots of community engagement around veterans. and joining community forces has really been a great partnership. I think above that is, the great thing is they really have a pulse on the resources. I mean, I can remember several times when I've had a veteran that we've really been struggling with, either with legal issues or just resource issues, and I'm able to pick up the phone and call Brandy or one of the other co-chairs of the committee or the group, and they will just get that veteran connected with resources. So it's been a vital part of us being able to really help the community and the veterans here.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much for that insight on what's working there locally. Next up is Denton County, Denton County Coalition.
Hi, my name's Paul Bassage. I am the Veteran Service Officer for Denton County, but I'm also the Vice Chair for our Denton County Veterans Coalition. I like what was said from Texarkana about a mission and a vision. I like to share that with you first and foremost. Our coalition serves as an advocate for veterans and their families, facilitates collaboration among veterans organizations and community resources to resolve individual and collective veterans issues. The advocacy is for the expansion of veterans-oriented resources and programs in Denton County and to serve our veterans and the family. Our vision is to honor our nation's commitment to our veterans, families by leading collaboration among the veterans organizations and community resources, making Denton County a national model for a comprehensive and integrated system of veteran services. How do we do that? Our involvement with the Veteran Homeless Stand Down with the VA, our Homeless Veterans Initiatives, our Behavioral Health Leadership Team. We are members of that leadership team and working for better services for behavioral health. Last year, our coalition provided over $40,000 of emergency financial assistance. Our focus of the coalition is the homelessness issue, behavioral health, and emergency financial assistance. And I'd like to say that our very best practice, our coup d'etat, should you say, is the creation of our Veterans Center. Our Veterans Center was donated office space 2 years ago by an Air Force veteran who has a business, and his business is helping with doing taxes for low income. But he had some office space available, heard of our desire for a need of a one-stop shop, and actually has provided for the last 2 years and 2 years going forward office space to house our Veterans Coalition as well as our Veterans Center, which has collaborative partners right in that center. On top of that, 2 years ago, we created the Community Navigator Program in collaboration with the United Way. Our Navigator Program is a Texas Health and Human Resources, was a grant-funded initiative by Senator Nelson, and basically in partnership with the Denton County Behavioral Leadership Health Team, we are providing a case manager and social work hands-on assistance to our veterans and their families, especially those that are fighting homelessness, need behavioral health treatment, or emergency financial assistance. And I'm proud to say, starting October 1st, the two positions, our Community Navigator, two positions that we have, which is a LMSW and an LVSW, will be full-time employees of Denton County working directly for the Veterans Service Office. So we're very proud of that. It's going to be a huge transition having these sustainable resources and having the office space available, having a one-stop shop that not only has the VA in there, the Texas Veterans Commission in there, the Military Veterans Peer Network in there, Health and Human Services available, will all be available out of one location, and we'll have two case managers that can basically do the job that a veteran service officer is not capable of doing due to the lack of the manpower to actually do case management or social work. So we're very proud of that, and we look forward to the upcoming year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's great hearing about all the progress you've done there. If we can go to the Veteran Support Network in Missoula, Montana. If you are muted, perhaps the star 6 to unmute. Again, Veteran Support Network in Missoula, Montana. And if not, we can come back to you momentarily. We can move to Combined Arms in Houston, Texas, if you're online.
Hey, thumbs up if you guys can hear me.
We can hear you.
All right, great. Hey, this is Kelly Land with Combined Arms in Houston. And first of all, appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we're doing. Background, our mission is to unite community and the impact of veterans on Houston. And, we do this, through through a system that we created, which is built on really 4 pillars. First, a physical space in downtown Houston, which is a lot like a co-working space for organizations. Second, technology that we built on Salesforce.com, which acts a little bit like a two-sided market like Uber or Lyft or Airbnb, where we connect organizations to veterans to organizations and hold them accountable, provide accountability between the two, and then extract some data on performance and also ensuring that no veteran really slips through the cracks through that technology. Number 3 is our cadre of member organizations. We've got over 40 organizations that are in our system right now. Those organizations, in this capacity, we act a little bit like a Better Business Bureau. We allow the organizations, we allow the veterans an opportunity to rate the organizations after the organizations provide a service, and then we also provide opportunities for our organizations to convene, discuss best practices, a lot like this, and then make data-driven changes to the way they deliver services and the way they collaborate together. Last is our marketing piece, which in this capacity we act a little bit like a chamber of commerce, where we're sending messaging out to 2 different groups. So number 1, veterans all over the country, including Houston, sending to Houston, no offense to other cities, but Houston's the best city in the nation for veterans. We want them to come to Houston because we believe they're the best assets. Check out your unit, check into ours. And then to our community here in Houston, we want them to understand that veterans are the best asset. So hire veterans. You want veterans in your community taking leadership roles and talking about resiliency. So that's kind of how we're built, and we're a system. So rather than talking about some of the best practices beyond that, I'll just mention a few lessons learned, because I think we all learn a little bit better from mistakes than we do necessarily from our victories. When we came up with the idea of Combined Arms, we wanted to have the physical space, which has been awesome. It's been this one-stop shop in downtown Houston. But there was an unintended consequence to having that physical space downtown, and it was the perception that we are an urban organization, right? And that unintentionally sent a message to veterans and organizations that serve in suburban and rural areas. So that was one thing that we noticed that we have to overcome at this point through messaging, trying to help people understand that we are a more of a system or a framework that can exist wherever our organizations exist. So second thing was cultural. Again, some of our, because we are physically located in downtown, sometimes it takes us a little while to understand what some of the organizations and veterans in the rural and the suburban environments are facing, and so there's a learning curve to that. And then I think the third thing is generational. Sometimes because we're really trying to prevent problems before they start, so we focus on we focus on the transitioning veteran, but then again, the message sometimes the message gets lost to veterans that are of other generations. While at Combined Arms we serve veterans of all generations, there sometimes is a perception that we do not, that is not the case. We serve. It's actually not Combined Arms that serves the veterans, it's the organizations within our system that serve the veterans. So if we have organizations in our system that serve pre-9/11 veterans, then guess what? Combined Arms serves pre-9/11 veterans. So anyway, those are some of the lessons that we learned along the way that, really unintended consequences. And I think we can all kind of learn from that as we move forward. And every city and every area is going to be different based on the culture that's out there, the predominant generations of veterans there. But I thought you guys could learn a little bit about some of the unintended consequences that we are experiencing.
Well, Kelly, this is Eric, and I just wanted to say that for those who are in San Antonio that have I'm sorry. Texas Service. There are versions of Texas Service down in San Antonio, but more importantly, they did some great work. They did a lot of great work during Hurricane Harvey, which I got to commend you on, in the group this group of community organizations that came together for the veterans in that community. So I just wanted to throw that shout out to you guys and the work that Houston is doing, and we appreciate what you guys have been doing. And what we're going to do now is, last but not least, is the folks right here in San Antonio between Lizette and Richard is going to speak on the great work they're doing here in San Antonio as well.
Thank you so much, Eric. Hi, my name is Lizette, and I've really noticed a lot of the commonalities that we've all said together. The communication being priority, meeting regularly is important. The one-stop shop and that warm handoff. So here we have the San Antonio Coalition for Veterans and Families, also known as CVEB because it's the shorter name. We are a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit organization, and although we work with a small handful of us volunteers, we truly are in San Antonio a collaboration of our veteran service organizations. So that warm handoff is so important because we want to connect the families, the veterans, the service members with the resources that we need. I think here in San Antonio with CVEB, what we're doing well with the communication, a couple different areas I'd like to quickly mention. One would be the newsletter. So we've got about 2,000, almost 2,000 veteran service organizations and members for CVEB. And so in getting out the information on what are the different military events going on in San Antonio and surrounding areas, we all want to be united. We all want to come together and so that we can share with our veterans and service members and families the different events that are happening. So twice a month, we're going to send out a newsletter to the almost 2,000 people, talk about those veteran events, talk about the upcoming events that we have. So what we find really that has worked well in San Antonio is having our San Antonio Coalition for Veterans and Families monthly meetings. So we call them our mini informational seminars because what we want to do is talk about a topic that pertains to our military community. Now, we've done this since 2007 due to our founder, Lieutenant Colonel Hector Villarreal. We've put on monthly meetings since 2007. And so we take a topic of the month, whether it's suicide prevention, PTSD, homelessness. So we alternate every single month. We bring in the resources, always going back to our VA as our primary resource. And then we'll bring in about 3 to 4 other different presenters. So they're going to be the resources in addition to the VA that can help to connect our veterans, service members, family members to the resource that they need. So every month we bring out the resources, they talk about criteria and everything pertaining to their organization. And then we have kind of a panel, a question and answer format so that all of the attendees, 60 to 100 attendees, and they're veteran service providers, they may be veteran service members, family members. There's a give and take, and that's what we find that works really well here, is that portion where you can talk about some of your problems, gather the resources every single month, and then we follow up with what we call the networking portion. And that's where I can walk up to you and I can get your card and I can talk with you. And so the networking is being very important as well for that part of the meeting. So those are two different areas I think that that we do quite well here. Is that one-stop shop, again, that warm handoff so that our veteran can get the attention that he or she needs. And Richard?
Yeah, and the other thing that in 2012 that we started was similar to the veteran stand-down. We call it Bridging the Gap. So back in 2012, it started out with 75 attendees, 10 organizations, and then last year, as it's grown over the years, we had over 400 attendees, and we had 61 organizations attend. So again, strengthening on the networking and relationship here in San Antonio. In San Antonio, I believe we have a great relationship with several different providers, and it's all for the same mission. So regardless of the population we serve, whether it's post 9/11, pre 9/11, we're in it to win it. I know that's a cliche, but all the hearts and efforts are truly to support the veteran, their family members, and caregivers. So it's a broad range of clientele that we serve with CVEB. And then we want to give up the floor for a few minutes to the founder and the person that kind of helped us get started with all of this and who has kept us extremely busy over the years. So, Hector?
My name is Hector Villarreal. I started this organization as a result of doing a book signing of a book that we wrote in Vietnam. And people would stop and say, how come you don't have these services in all the HEBs so that people could understand and have those answers close at hand? I talked to about 5,000 people, and we said we need to come up with an organization that we have veterans that know what they need, but they don't know where to find the information. We have the people that have the resources and the services, but they don't know where to find the veterans. So we call it kind of like the bridging the gap. But one of the first things that we did as a good thing was to start establishing monthly informational seminars. And we started to invite the nonprofits first, because if we didn't do that, then the soldiers would go and they just still would not know, and we still have this kind of a mix-up. Eventually, as Ricardo spoke, we worked together. And then eventually, as this began to happen, we started doing a clearinghouse. And in a clearinghouse, you could talk, and they'd call, we'd get the phone. Within 15, 20 minutes, we would have resolved 4 different problems that they might have, and never leave that person get off the phone. We would do it all together. And that began to establish and earn the trust that we had, that we were for real, and then we just continued to grow. We started with 22, and we were as high we got was 150 people that were coming. Right now, between 50 and 80 people come to our meetings because of the information that we share, and people believe in that. One of the things that I told people was you've got to have ganas. Ganas is Spanish for you got to have the will to want to do things. If you get volunteers that have a different agenda, just thank them very much and say this is not for you, and be professional, of course. When you talk to people, we found that I never used my rank, because I took those phone calls because I wanted to touch, keep the pulse going, and I never given my rank, and we got together just fine, and we were able to help them. People would call and say, you just did a miracle. I said, I've done a miracle business. You got to talk to somebody else. And you want to make sure that when you help these people, it's a real positive thing, and they not only that, but they'll start telling other people. I got phone calls from the very top to level 3, and they just knew that they could get the help. Come Christmas, come Thanksgiving, come Christmas, a good policy that we did. I'll never forget, Miss Davis gave me some clothing, some coats, and this was cold. And we go and take out a few families to go out and spend $200, $50 for the food, the turkey and all the trimmings, and then $150 for toys, depending on how many children they had. There's nothing more gratifying than to see that you take them and you pay for that because you've been authorized to do that. And then the little girl that was with us was wearing the coat that Ms. Davis had just given to me half an hour earlier. You cannot, it's not, because it's not about us, it's about them. Another good thing that we found out was we had some of the major nonprofits, but they were there for certain specific things, and they were very silo mentality, very top secretive, and also very competitive. And we said, no, that's not what we're about. We're about helping veterans and families. We've made that change, and again, we just continue to blossom. I know I'm almost out of time. You want to think out of the box when you're talking to soldiers. And I'll share just one quick thing. Soldier calls and says, sir, I need help. Somebody needs to take me to the VA because I'm having surgery. And they said, okay, but I can't get anybody to take me there. And I said, okay, why? Have you tried this and this and this? Yes, I have. Have you tried VIA? And they said, well, my electric chair and myself weigh over 600 pounds. It won't take us. I said, okay, well, can I ask you a couple of questions? Again, what I'm saying is the best practice is to get in there until they can tell you. And he says, well, I can walk about 20 to 25 steps. Good. Do you still have that old beat up old wheelchair, the 14-pounder? I said, well, I do. Does it work? Yes, I do. What about if you left the electric wheelchair at home and you took the 14-pounder? I never thought about that. And so you can get down to those kinds of, where the rubber meets the road to be able to help these people. And all of these are best practices. And then you get other calls telling you about basically the same thing.
Thanks, Hector. You know what, Hector, a lot of it sounds like a lot of the one-on-one mentorship care. That's what it is. That's what we talked about earlier.
Right.
So thank you. Thank you for your points. And thank you for all your work here in San Antonio. Much appreciated.
So again, thank you for that. So since we have a few minutes left, Elisa Russell is in the house from Waco. So we're going to call on Ms. Russell to tell us kind of what's going on in Waco.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to be a part of this meeting today to see what everybody else across the state of Texas is doing. I think oftentimes we kind of get in our own corner and we're looking at what's going on in our own community, and to be able to see what everyone else is doing and to have this opportunity to collaborate is just really exciting for us. We started the Veterans One Stop in 2012 as we were beginning to scale down from Iraq. Our community really recognized things like increased homelessness, increased behavioral health issues, backlogs and claims, and really it started with a conversation of how do we work together to be able to help our veterans. At that time, the local mental health authority, MHMR, had a building, a very small house on Austin Avenue in Waco, and the Veteran Service Officer, our county Veteran Service Officer, agreed to come in, as well as with the TVC, getting the grant to be able to help with employment, and really importantly, our military veteran peer network, because that's where I think a lot of our magic happens with our volunteers. So back at that time in 2012, when everyone came together, we were probably doing about 1,800 services a year. That has grown in the last several years we got a larger building where we could expand on our programming. We were able to apply for some grants. Currently, we have 3 counselors in our building. We have 2 case managers. We have 3 veteran service officers. We have our TVC there, able to have employment, as well as our military veteran peer network. And I encourage anybody that is listening to really to draw upon your military veteran peer network in the state of Texas. These people are there and they want to be involved. We have over 100 volunteers in our Veterans One Stop in Waco, and that has been the magic, as well as reaching out to these businesses that are in a community, because the community generally, I believe, wants to be involved. I'll give you an example. we went over to Lowe's, and growing up in a small town in East Texas, and hello Texarkana, I'm from DeKalb, I knew the importance of having a little food for our veterans, and so we just went over and said, do you have a stove? We don't care if it's a stove with a big old dent in it. And they came back and they put a $70,000 kitchen there within the one stop. And so now we feed over 200 people. Today's Wednesday, so I'm missing on that great home cooking in Waco. But we have over 200 people who come in and eat. And I can't tell you how amazing it is that if you walk in and you see a World War II vet sitting with a Vietnam vet, sitting with someone who just got home, and that camaraderie that is built there, that is powerful. On the back of our T-shirts, we say, thank you for your service. We still need you. We feel like that we are really reducing the suicide rate, because many times a veteran will come into our organization to say that they just want that cup of coffee or that cupcake that's provided by Magnolia, that they just want to come over for that. But when they sit down and they see our amazing counselors and our case managers sitting down there with them, they'll bridge that gap and say, look, I really do feel like I need a help here in behavioral health, or I really do need jobs. And I emphasize the importance of having this in one location. You hear there's a lot of ways that we put it, one-stop shops, organizations, veterans one-stop, but really being able to have those organizations under one roof, I think, is very powerful. I'm very excited about the group in Tyler. They've come down to visit us. But just to tell you, I mean, you can see with our numbers, we're in a little old town like Waco, and though it's growing, and I know you're watching it on TV, to go from 1,800 to 24,000 services being able to provide in 3 years, it's kind of like that old Kevin Costner movie, you know, you build it that they'll come. I do believe that, and it's also important to talk about what we can't do in building that bridge. We've been really lucky to work really closely with our VA. We know that we cannot do everything. None of us can do that. I think several have emphasized that point. And so what we've done there at our one stop is we have provided office space. So our homeless groups that work with the VA can come in, our women's groups can come in, that these different organizations can come there, especially on Wednesday when everybody's already over there having that amazing meal, right? What better time to tell all the community organizations, come in, open your doors to these different veteran service organizations like Vietnam Veterans of America. Get your MOAs involved in helping write those resumes. Get all of these organizations and really collaborate together, and I think that the magic just naturally flows from that. So that's
Thank
just
you.
a little bit about Waco.
Thank you. Thank you.
We had a question. What was the name of that program in Waco again?
It's called the Veterans One Stop. You can look at it. It's Veterans One Stop. I always mess up if it's .com or .org. You can tell I'm not a great marketer on that one. Or if you go on Facebook, the Heart of Texas Veterans One Stop. I don't tweet, and so I'll get a Twitter going. But that's the other thing is we've been so blessed in our community because there's so many bad stories that are out there, and we're trying to get the good stories out there. So we have ABC, NBC, CBS, all the affiliates coming over, and that's how we're getting the word out. Even though there's no money for this, there's no marketing money for this, they will come out and they'll be a part of that. So, you know, reaching out to your communities and showing them these amazing things that you're doing, and partnering with your VAs, partnering with your businesses, partnering with your MVPN and TVC. I think that this is something that we should be doing, not just across the great state of Texas, but all over the United States.
So part of Lizette and I's charge was to keep us on time. So we did have a few extras and we did have some technical difficulties, but we are right on time. So I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Montgomery to continue our agenda. So thank you all on behalf of Lizette and myself for sharing your best practices with all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Antonio, can you hear us?
We muted again.
Anyway, as we move on, we have Megan Warren. I know she was trying to